Recording in progress. Okay, so here's the deal. I originally was not going to do a 2024 real estate market forecast for a couple reasons. Okay, number one is a lot of people do real estate market forecasts, so I thought to myself, like, maybe I don't want to water it down so much. There's so many people that already do it. So that was one reason I was going to do it. The other reason I wasn't going to do it is I was thinking to myself, like, well, maybe we shouldn't focus so much on what's going to happen in 2024. Maybe we just go in totally blind and just do what we got to do. But we sent out a survey. I appreciate for those of you that filled out the survey that we sent out a couple weeks ago. I appreciate that most of you had very positive things, and those of you that didn't have such positive things, we're working on it. The good news is all the negative stuff was about me, so the rest of the company's doing fine. What are you gonna do? But one of one of the common things, or most common of the surveys we got back, was people requesting a 2024 market forecast. And so I started asking around, and where I actually felt pretty pleased is I said, well, it's interesting that people are requesting that. And so I asked around a few of the offices. They said, yeah, but we don't listen to anyone else except for you. And I went, well, all right. So they didn't do the market forecast for this company or this or that. And they were like, great, fantastic. So I decided, yeah, let's do it. Let's put together a 2024 real estate market for tech savvy person. So you're going to be very excited to know that I put together a PowerPoint presentation for this class. So yeah, look at that. Adapting to the world that we live in. So very, very fun stuff. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go through this presentation. If at any point you have questions, comments, concerns, anything, just unmute yourself, shout it out. I'll be paying attention to the chat box a little bit, but because I'm sharing my screen, it doesn't pop up in my face immediately. So you might be better off just unmuting yourself and asking the question. But it's open forum. Okay, so anything that doesn't make sense or anything that you want to talk about, let's do it now. Let's get it out, and then we'll open it up for more Q&A afterwards. All right, everybody sound good? Yay. All right, let's do this. All right, so I need to reduce this. Oh, let me rearrange my stuff here. So that way I can. Okay. All right, there we go. Now I can actually see what the heck I'm doing. All right, here we go. All right, 2024 real estate market forecast. Let's jump into this. So let's start with a recap. So I took this from RMLS. This is not national. This is just RMLS, just so you can kind of see where we're at in 2023. So closings through October 2023, we're at 157,094. 2022, just to give some sort of reference, 207,495. So closings are down 24.3% in RMLS year 2023 compared to 2022. That seem about right to everybody?
Yes.
Some markets might be different, some cities might be different, but 24% down. Price per square foot, October versus October. So October this year versus October last year in RMLS. This year was 586, 2022, 561. So up. Okay, so price per square foot is up, which means prices are up. Everybody somewhat agreed to that in most of our marketplaces, we're seeing prices up. Okay. Days on market. So October versus October, 2023, we're at 29, 2022, we're at 34. So less days on market. We're down 14.7% in days on market. List to sell percentage, October versus October, 2023, the average home sold 0.3% below list price, so just below. This time at 2022 is 3.1% below list price, so a difference of 2.8%. So when you look at the market as a whole, in our MLS, the number of closings was down. The number of transactions was down 24%. It's a pretty big drop. Okay. But prices were up, days on market were down, and homes were selling right next to list price compared to 3% below list price. So it's really important to start with this, looking at our marketplace, that not everything is bad. Okay. When you talk to the general public, is it fair to say that a good portion of the general public has a pretty negative view about the real estate market? Is that pretty ever somewhat agreeable to that?
Yes.
And they say that because what they hear is that closings are down. So it's really important that we look at this kind of where we stand today. Just because closings are down doesn't mean the market is bad. Because closings are down, but prices are up. Days on market are down. Homes are selling closer to list price. So this is really important to know for ourselves, because some of us have bought into this idea that the market is bad. Okay. And for some of you, that's really, really hindered you in 2023. You've bought into the market being bad. So nothing's happening. Okay. Closings can be down, doesn't mean the market's bad. Okay. But this is the same type of information we need to be talking about with our sellers when they talk about what's going on in the market and they say, oh, the market's bad. No, no, no. Actually, you're reading about closings. Okay. So want to just so we know where we're standing as of right now. Okay, so now let's go to the market forecast. So what is CAR, the California Association of Real Estate Agents, California Association of Realtors? What are they predicting for 2024? So they're predicting closings are going to increase 20%. Closings increasing 20%. That's their prediction. Home prices, they're predicting a 6% increase in home prices. They're predicting interest rates are going to go down about 0.75% throughout 2024. Some of their other predictions is that they feel like cash buyers are going to increase. They feel like non-cash investment buyers will decrease and international buyers will increase. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. So closings increasing 20%. So let's be honest here. How many of you feel like a 20% increase in closings in your mind feels accurate? Okay, some of you raising your hands, some of you not raising your hands. How many of you feel like that number is too high and the closings are not going to be 20% higher? Okay, do me a favor. I would like everybody just to raise their hand just so I know that you can hear me. Okay, great. We've got 4 people. Good. Life for any of you that ever want to get in, become a speaker, just know it's a lonely gig.
Hey, Robert.
I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know. It's a lonely gig. Okay.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just saying, I know when you say the feeling about going up 20%, just it's based on what you said at the bottom. There are going to be more cash investors. So agents working with, buyers probably won't see that 20%, like you said, so positively. So, because you see that some cash buyers will probably increase. And agents with those first-time buyers might not see the increase.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Part of the reason for the 20, so let me ask a question. What major thing could happen in the marketplace that is leading to the California Association of Realtors think there's going to be a 20% increase in closings?
Interest rates go down.
There it is. Number 3, they're predicting a decrease in interest rates, which they think will increase the closings. Now, this is CAR. They think it's going to go down 0.75%. I was with a lender the other day at the Mike Ferry event, a guy that I've known for years and have a lot of respect for. He thinks interest rates are going to go down even further. Now, but here's what I will tell you about interest rates. Anybody who tells you they know what's going to happen to interest rates is lying. If I've learned anything in my almost 20 years of this business, that's one thing I know. Anyone that can predict interest rates is a liar. Okay. How do I know? Well, I remember sitting in my office in January 2010. We were right after the big bail me out, right? Who here was in real estate in January 2010? Okay, some of you. So you might remember this, that they just put $700 billion into the economy, the too big to fail, money that went in there. So every economist, I remember being on all these calls, and every economist, every so-called expert, every bank, every whatever was saying, hey, look it, interest rates are going to be 1 to 1.5% higher by the end of 2010 was because the company just poured in $700 billion and they're going to need to recoup that money. So I'm on the phone. I am calling every buyer that I know, January 2010. Interest rates are going to be up 1 to 1.5% by the end of the year. We got to buy now. We got to go now. I am just hammering the phone, utilizing this information. So for those of you that were in the market in 2010, do you remember what happened to interest rates at the end of 2010? They were lower. So all these experts told us interest rates are going to be 1 to 1.5% higher. So we're calling the phones. They actually dropped in 2010. And then they dropped again in 2011. And it wasn't until June of 2013 when interest rates went up 0.5%, at which point I was telling everybody, I told you interest rates were going to go up. I was 2.5 years off, but that's not the point. Okay. So be careful about your thoughts on interest rates. Be careful about what you're telling people about interest rates, because while everyone is predicting a drop in interest rates, nobody really knows. Okay. All right. So what does realtor.com think? So realtor.com, top 10 housing markets in 2024. What do they think? We got Toledo, Ohio. How many Toledo, Ohio people we got in the crowd? Oxnard, Rochester, San Diego, Riverside, Bakersfield, Springfield, Worcester, Grand Rapids, Los Angeles. So here's why I put this on here. Does anybody know would anybody like to guess why I thought this was really important information for this particular call?
Because Los Angeles is our area.
It's our areas. Top 10 housing markets, according to Realtor.com. Take that for whatever it's worth. According to them, San Diego, Riverside, Los Angeles. I know some of you work out in the Ventura area. We got Oxnard. They're predicting these areas of being the areas that are going to have the best markets in 2024. So if nothing else, you should look at this sheet and go, I'm pretty excited, right? If 2023 was rough for me, if 2023 the market was bad, what am I looking at for 2024? Well, where we live, Realtor.com is expecting that we're going to have a good year compared to a lot of other markets in the country. Okay, so room for optimism in what we got going on. So I just put down here, it says, in this forecast, Realtor.com identified the real estate markets where home sales prices are anticipated to grow, even as they dip nationally. So they're expecting prices to go down nationally, but these areas they're expected to grow. Number of existing home sales are also expected to surge. So here's what they said about Southern California. This is straight from the Realtor.com memo they put out. Many of these Southern California markets are expected to rebound in 2024. As mortgage rates are predicted to fall in the year ahead, it will bring more buyers into the market who are expected to bid up prices. Equally important will be the additional sellers who are likelier to put their homes up for sale, boosting inventory as they become more confident they can find new ones. That will result in more sales. That's what they said about Southern California. Okay. So, show of hands. Who here feels 1% better about 2024 after reading that information? Okay. We've moved up from 4 to 6. We're getting there. By the end of this call, I'm going to get participation from double digits. All right. All right. So that's what they're expecting in Southern California. So I think there's room for optimism. All right. So let's look into this. So here's some stats that I want to share with you in terms of some forecasts. So one of the questions that they had on these surveys was, do you want to own a home at some point in the future? This is just for California. This was a California survey. Do you want to own a home at some point in the future? Well, 82%, 80. 2021 was at 73%. What was going on in 2021 where people were not so excited about owning a home?
COVID.
COVID. And what was going on in the real estate market in COVID?
Overbidding.
Overbidding. So 2021, we dropped down to 73% saying, yeah, I still want to own a home because it's crazy. But we jumped up to 82 and 81. So despite interest rates and prices increasing in 2023, the desire to own a home remained high. So people in our marketplace still want to be homeowners. So for those first-time buyers that you're talking to, they still want to be homeowners. Okay. And this is probably going to increase if interest rates decrease in 2024 because interest rates got up to 8%. Prices are increasing, and yet 81% of people are still saying, yeah, I still want to own a home. A lot of optimism out there. So what I wrote down to myself underneath this point is when you're talking to first-time buyers, okay, or people that are thinking about buying a house, you know that they want to own a house. Don't let them try to play the card of like, well, we'll wait, or we're not really in a rush. It's like, no, 81% of you want to buy a house. Okay. So have those conversations. California delinquency rate, residential. So how many homes are delinquent? So the average, if you go back to 1972 to today, the average is 4.2%. 2009 was at 11.34%. What happened in 2007, 8, 9 that resulted in 11.3% of homes being delinquent?
The crash.
The crash, yay, the great economic crash, global economic collapse, 2007, 2008. So 2009 was the highest we ever had, was 11.34. Right now, quarter two, 2.24%. So current delinquencies are half of the historical average in California. And there's no reason to suggest that. What's that? Okay. I believe you. So it's half of the historical average is a delinquency rate in California. Okay. So, and there's no reason to suggest, the forecast, no reason to suggest that's going to increase in 2024. So again, room for optimism, okay, in terms of people are not delinquent on their mortgages. Okay, so no reason to get into the REO business. Because I know people, well, how do I get into REOs? How do I get into foreclosures? Why are you rushing to get into that when delinquencies are half of the historical average? Okay, foreclosures probably aren't coming. Okay, for those of you that work NODs, understand too, only 2.2%, 24% of homes are delinquent. Okay, so if you've made a history of NODs, if you're trying to get in the REO foreclosure market, I would probably stress some sort of caution on that because there's just not a high delinquency rate. Plus, why else, even for those that are delinquent, why wouldn't they go into foreclosure? What is it assumed?
Ton of equity. They have ton of
People have equity. So you have a very low delinquency rate and the highest prices we've ever had, which means you probably have equity, probably not a great foreclosure market. Okay, so caution for those of you that are trying to get there. So I found this interesting. Vacation home sales are on the rise. So people buying second homes, vacation homes. So in 2019, it was only 5% of sales. It's continually ticked up. In 2023, got up to 8% of the sales. Okay, so the forecast on that is vacation sales will likely remain flat or slightly increase in 2024. But here's a question. How many of you talk about vacation and second homes to people? maybe you should start having those conversations. So here would be a great question to ask everybody you talk to. What's your 5-year plan in real estate? What's your 5-year real estate plan? What's your 10-year real estate plan? Do you plan on living in this house forever? Do you plan on buying a vacation home, a second home? Do you plan on buying an investment property? We need to start having these conversations because second home sales are increasing. It's only 8% of total sales, so it's not a giant market, but it's going up. Okay. So one, start having these conversations because it's clearly something that people are considering. But two, don't ever assume that people only own one property. Okay. Because if second home sales are going up, that means there's more people that own multiple pieces of property. So if they say, no, you know what, I'm going to die in this house. Have you ever heard anyone say, I'm going to die in this house? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. If you're not saying yes, you need to increase your prospecting by a lot. Okay. So they say, I'm going to die in this house. Great. Do you own any other properties? B, you have to get used to asking that question because these types of sales are on the rise, which means there's more people that might own them. All right. Cash buyers. Cash buyers. So here's what's interesting about cash buyers. Cash buyers are on the rise. You look at 2019, cash buyers represented 20% of sales. 2022 was 23. This year, it's 28% of total sales are cash buyers. Now, what is going on in the real estate market that's leading to more cash buyers?
People
What's
having a
going on
ton of
with-
equity.
No. What is leading to the increase in cash buyers?
Investors.
The interest rate.
High interest rates.
Yes, it
High
could be
interest
investors,
rates.
Rochelle. But it's interest rates, less people financing homes, which leads more opportunities for cash buyers. Okay. Well, so what's the forecast then for cash buyers? This is where I somewhat disagree with CAR. So this is just a Robert Hertel forecasting moment. This is where CAR thinks cash buyers are going to increase. I disagree. Because if interest rates decrease in 2024, there will be more people open to financing homes, which will then likely see a smaller percentage of cash buyers. Does that make sense to everybody, what I just said there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I tend to disagree with CAR on this one. I agree with a lot of the other stuff they said, but I think the reason cash buyers are increasing because there's less people willing to finance at 7 and 8%. Okay. So keep that in mind. There are still going to be a lot of cash buyers, but I think there's just going to be more non-cash buyers entering the marketplace if interest rates decrease. So it's just a lot of them are going to have opportunities to get some homes. Okay. So if you have those cash buyers, that's great, but let's not get too discouraged with the number of cash buyers out there. If you have a client that can go buy a house through financing, let's get them into a house. Okay. I think the cash buyers are going to drop a little bit. All right. International buyers and investors. So international buyers are on the rebound. Yay. Right.
Yay.
So 2020, it was 2% of total sales, jumped up to 4%. Now 2023, we're back to 5% of total sales are international buyers. Forecast is that international sales are going to continue to increase in 2024 as the California market remains one of the strongest markets in the US. That was also what Realtor.com said, right? They said even though prices are going to dip nationally, they expect these 10 markets to increase in prices, 5 of which were in California. Okay. So the international buyer pool is going to continue to pour into California as it's a little bit of a stronger market. Now we're going to talk a little bit later on how you could utilize that to your advantage. But if you have international connections, don't be afraid to start connecting with those people because there might be more international buyers. So if you have international real estate agents that you know, make sure you're connecting with them. If you have international clients, make sure you're reconnecting with them. Okay, that is going to start increasing again. We're going to see more international buyers back in the California market. Okay, so make sure you have those connections. Anyone want to guess the #1 international buyer pool into California?
Asian.
The Asian community.
Yeah, okay. China is number one. Anybody would anybody like to guess number two? I was
Canada.
somewhat surprised about this one.
Canada.
Not Canada. They're up there,
India.
but they're not number two. What was it?
India.
India
India.
is number two. Did not know that. Number one, international money coming into California. Number one is China. Number two is
Evan
India.
asked me to come up there to help.
All right. Well, I'm glad he asked. So yes. So if you have some family in India, make sure they're making those connections. We're making those connections. All right. Investor buyers. Investor buyers dropped. Okay. Now 2021, we're at 10%. We jumped up to 14% in 2022, down to 11% in 2023. Okay. Main reason investor buyer. So what do you think? There's two main reasons the number of investor buyers dropped in California. Anyone want to guess what those two reasons are?
The increase in the prices. There's
Increase in, yep.
Rent
Increase in
control.
prices.
Low cap.
And
The rent
rents.
control.
Rent. You're all on the right track. Rents are not going up. The rental market on average, like every city might be different, but on average in California, the rents are remaining flat or declining. So investor buyers are looking at this going, well, prices are going up. And if I'm financing, the interest rate's higher, which means my payment is higher and the rents are not increasing. Not a great combination for investor buyers.
Robert, I
Robert?
have a question. Why
Yeah.
does rent rate remain flat?
Because there's more occupancy. Here's the problem we have in California in terms of rents increasing and decreasing. They don't build homes, they build rentals.
Yes.
So when you look at the best example I always use because it frustrates the hell out of me is downtown Los Angeles. They did this rebirth to downtown Los Angeles, 15 so years ago, and made it, they really revved up a lot of the areas. So then they started building more buildings and then converting old warehouses. But instead of converting them to condos, they converted them to apartments. So now you have this an area of downtown Los Angeles where they have thousands upon thousands and thousands of apartments that are new. Well, there's only so many people that either want to or can afford to live in downtown Los Angeles. So you have a bunch of vacant apartments. And it's like that in a lot of other places. They build apartment complexes. They build rental housing. Well, it's supply and demand. You only have so many people that are going to keep paying rent. Or the prices can only go up so high. So if they stop building rental units and start building housing units, they can get more, the rents can increase. It's just supply and demand. There's just too many rental units. Plus, you have a couple other factors in play. Okay. Because of prices of rent, because of prices of homes, because of the cost of going to college, you have people coming out of college and living with family longer than they have before. Okay. So,
Yep.
so you have that factor in there as well, which means there's not as many renters. You also have more people to afford the rent that are living together. Okay. So instead of me having my own apartment and my buddy John having his own apartment, it's like, hey, we're each paying $2,500 a month. Why don't we just, share an apartment? Okay, well, now that's one less apartment unit. Those are things that are going on because people are trying to afford housing. So there's just too many rental units that are available.
Robert? Hey,
Yes.
Robert? Yeah, I got a couple
Yes.
of questions. Number one, in regards to international buyers, I understand right here the number, it looks real small, but like cities like Walnut, Chino Hills, Roland Heights, or maybe Irvine, 5%, that's not the reality. There's
Right.
more international buyers buying in those areas. This
Right.
is national wise, right? Because over here in
California.
Walnut, it's not that, right?
So these numbers are just for California only. So, but you're right, because in areas like Walnut, Irvine, it's going to be more than 5% of the total sales. But in Hemet, it's probably not going to be 5%.
Right.
So yes, this is a California number. So each city is going to have its own differences.
Okay, and the second question is, you know, the new law this year that allows people they make an official ADU, they can actually sell it separately. Is that going to affect anything, you know, in regards to sales or make it
We don't-
easier? Or how is that going to make a difference since people will take advantage of that and making some more money, I guess?
Yeah, we don't really know because it's brand new. So that it's tough. I was on a call with some people from CAR and also NAR not that long ago. And that was one of the questions that got brought up. And I tend to agree with what they said is we have no idea how that's going to impact things because we've never seen anything like this before. So that might be something, Michael, where we might have to do like a 3 or 6 month review to see how that's impacted things and maybe make some adjustments. But we've never seen anything like that before, so it's tough to say what the forecast or prediction is on that. But it is going to be something worth looking into and keeping an eye on.
Thank you very much.
Oh, good question. So investor buyer. So what's the forecast? So due to rents remaining flat or declining, investors who need to finance will continue to decrease while cash investors will continue to be strong. So if you have investor buyers, if they're cash investors, they're going to be fine because they're not paying the mortgage. So the rents can be flat and it's not going to affect them as much if they're doing it for the long term. But if they're financing, we're still not going to have a lot of financing investment buyers because even if rates go down a little bit, it's still not going to match the decline in rents. Okay, so it's really important that when you're working with your investor buyers, you're pre-qualifying them on are they paying cash? Are they getting a loan? Variety of different things because that's going to impact whether or not they're going to get into the marketplace. All right, commercial. I didn't do a lot on commercial, so I just put this one slide on commercial for those of you who do it. Vacancy rate is at an all-time high in commercial, 19%.
Yeah.
Quarter 1 of 2020, it was at 12%, just for some sort of reference point. So office and retail space have seen the highest increase in vacancies, and that will likely continue in 2024, and that's also leading to lower rents in office and retail space. Industrial space is the one commercial area that remains pretty steady, only a small increase in vacancy, and that's likely going to remain steady as companies like Amazon and other retailers purchase warehouses. So if you're in the commercial field, warehouses are great, okay, being pretty strong there. Office and retail spaces are having a really hard time filling their vacancies, okay? So if I was in commercial, that's where I would prospect. Is office and retail space to see if people might want to try to get rid of their property. Because as time goes on, those properties will probably continue to decrease in value.
Yeah.
Okay. So for those that own office and retail spaces, that would be my target if I was going to do any sort of commercial stuff. All right. So that's the world of commercial real estate. Okay, questions on anything we've covered so far before I go to the next? All right. Okay, so a SWOT analysis. Everybody know what a SWOT analysis is?
No.
What a SWOT analysis is you take a situation and you identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, I would recommend everybody do this for their own individual business. I did this for the California real estate market. So strengths. More agents leaving the business, so less competition. Yeah. I can't tell you how excited I get when I hear that agents are leaving the business. It's so exciting. Okay. NAR is predicting that when it comes to January and agents have to renew their board dues, they're predicting probably around 400 to 500,000 agents will not renew their board dues. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I think that's probably fairly accurate, although I think the number of agents leaving is going to be probably closer to 700, 800,000 because there's just some agents that will pay their board dues just because that's what they do, but they're going to go get another job. Look, even in our own company, we've already had, we don't get this a lot, but we've had a few agents already reach out to Cindy and want to know, hey, I just want to become a referral agent for the company. So that way I don't have to pay board dues or anything like that. So you are going to see a lot of agents leave the business. That is going to happen, which should be thrilling for you. It's thrilling for me because you're going to have less competition out there. Now, what is the one downside of a bunch of agents leaving the business?
More business for me.
Okay, that's the positive side. What's the downside?
Don't know what to say, how to say, and get business.
More
So-
profiting.
So, well, the downside is that the only agents still in the business are agents like you.
Thank you.
So you're only competing against good agents. So when a bunch of agents leave, because look, let's be honest, there are times when you're competing against other agents and it's like, this is a joke, right? You're not really considering them over me. Like this is stupid, right? And we get listings, we get buyers because of that. Well, that's not going to happen. When all these agents leave the business, now we're only competing against each other, so which means you have to make sure that you're constantly stepping your game up. Okay, so it's exciting. Other strengths, prices are rising. They rose in 2023. They're expected to rise in 2024. Interest rates dropping. Again, that's expectation. That's going to be a big strength. Election year could boost the economy. Typically in election years, we get a boost in the economy because everyone's got to make things look nice and pretty for November. Okay, so that could generally help some things. And home ownership desirability remains high. So those are some of the strengths in our marketplace. Weaknesses, affordability remains low for first-time buyers, so still tough for first-time buyers. Residential inventory remains low, still going to be a little bit low inventory compared to prior to 2020 years. Commercial market is struggling and rent's not increasing as much. So those are some of the weaknesses that we're going to have to overcome 2024. All right, opportunities. California is a stronger market than most of the country. That's an opportunity, which means that you still have people that want to live here, that want to buy here. Okay, so still a lot of great things there. Continue to remote work could increase listings for people to move into more affordable areas. So this is kind of interesting. The amount of people doing remote work, there was the thought that at some point companies were going to start moving back to the office as a whole, okay? And some companies have. In Europe and Asia, they're back to 100% of the in-office working they were prior to the COVID pandemic. They are back to 100% of that. The United States is at 40%, meaning that where we were in terms of in-office work, we're only 40% of that level today. So remote work is not going away, which could lead to people that live in higher priced areas or dense downtown areas to say, you know what, there's no reason for me to live here from a work standpoint. Why don't I sell this place, move out somewhere a little bit further away where I can get more bang for my buck? So I do think there is some opportunities for people that live in some higher end areas, small homes in high end areas, or condos in dense downtown type areas. I think those are great targets to potentially get them to sell and move further away as they're doing more remote work. Double ending transactions is increasing. Okay, so certainly an opportunity there. If in order to double end a transaction, what do you need to have?
A
Buyer broker
listing.
compensation.
You need to have a
agreement.
listing. Yes, Rochelle, also a buyer broker agreement, but you need to have a listing. So for those of you that are listing driven, you're going to have more opportunities to double end transactions because that is increasing. And I've said this before, I think it's going to increase a lot in the next few years. Okay, so make sure that you're putting all your baskets into becoming a great listing agent. Okay. Also opportunities, as we mentioned, agents leaving, that puts databases and farms up for grabs. Okay, you have a bunch of agents leaving. I mean, think about this. If 400,000, let's say 500,000 agents left the business, even if those 500,000 people only had 10 people in their database, their family members, that's 5 million people that don't have a real estate agent connection. That's a lot of people. So databases and farms are up for grabs. I'm curious, who here has someone door knock their house on a regular basis? Just a couple of you, because I don't. Neighborhoods are up for grabs, people. Neighborhoods are up for grabs. Threats. Home buyers concerned about homeowners insurance issues. So this is a big thing to watch out for in 2024. Okay. They did a survey on this. This is one of the things home buyers are concerned about is the homeowners insurance issues. Okay. So I'm not going to dive too deep into what that is. You should know about that. If you don't, read about it. Okay, but that is something that we have to watch out for. Commission lawsuit fallout, such as buyer commissions decreasing, that is going to happen. Okay, with the commission lawsuit fallout, so that is a potential threat. And the number of people moving to California is slowing. So people are still moving to California, but it's not going at the pace it used to. So when people talk about the mass exodus of California, it's a lie. Okay. What's really happening is the population is not growing at the rate it normally grows at. Okay. So something to consider there. Okay. Questions at all on the SWOT analysis that we went over?
Hey, Robert, when you said
Yes.
about 700,000 agents maybe leaving the business, is that include maybe buyer's agent leaving because the lawsuit?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's just agents in general, because there's going to be agents that don't want to do the work. This market requires a lot of work.
Yes.
Okay, this is a lot of effort. 24% down in closings. Even if closings go up 20%, you're gonna have to really earn it. And most people don't get into real estate to work, so they leave, because why would you pay your board dues if you're not going to do that? People are concerned about the commission lawsuits, because especially if you're a buyer's agent, if you only work with buyers, unless you're on a team, right, and your role as a buyer's agent, that's different. But if you're not on a team and all you do is work with buyers, the buyer agent commissions are decreasing. So you're making less money per transaction. So I'm working harder to get deals and getting paid less. Yeah. So they're going to look at other opportunities to go make some money. So absolutely. How do you know which agents left and have databases to grabs? You really don't know which agents left. So all I would say is just prospect neighborhoods, and they're just open. You could ask the question, when's the last time a real estate agent gave you a market update? Oh, 6 months, 9 months ago. Yeah, that agent doesn't work anymore.
What is
All right. So, okay. Potential areas for success. Always
Robert, what
that
does SWOT stand for again?
SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Potential areas for success in 2024, always database and predictive analytics. Database is always in any market your number one source of business. Make sure that you are working your database at the highest level. I promise you, you're probably not doing a great job. It's not because I don't like you. It's just because 89% of people say they're willing to use their real estate agent again, and only 23% do. So for those of you that say, oh, they'll call me if they need anything, they won't. They know I'm in real estate. They don't. 89%, 23%. Stop telling yourself that you have your database on lock. Okay, work your database. Predictive analytics. Okay, two-story homes bought 20 or more years ago. We just, we talk about this all the time, Neil and myself, and we just had an agent take a listing on one of those. Condos, 1 and 2 bedroom condos bought maybe 4 or more years ago. Great predictive analytics. So those work in any market, database and predictive analytics. So what are some other areas for potential success? I wrote down absentee owners. Okay. Rents are not going up. Taxes and insurance are increasing though. Tough to evict in California. Okay, there are some reasons for people that own investment properties to get out. So I think if you can work absentee owners, I think that's a great opportunity there, both short-term and long-term. Because you have the short-term, people might want to sell now. The long-term is ask them when if they're renting it out, ask them when a lease expires. Why do I want to know when the lease expires?
So I can contact them then.
So I can contact them. I know when does your lease expire? In April. Okay, well then maybe February and March, I might want to call them. Hey, did your tenant give you a notice to vacate? They sure did. Oh, all right. Are you going to re-rent it or do you want to list it? So I want you to think about this. Imagine if you created like a Google spreadsheet or an Excel spreadsheet, and you got the name of the absentee owner, their phone number, the property address, and the date that it was going to, the lease was up, and you added 3 people a week to that list. And in 2024, at the end of 2024, you had, say, 120 investors that you had their name, phone number, and email, and you knew when the lease was expired. So you had 120 people that you knew exactly when to call them to see if their tenant was going to vacate so they would potentially list their property. Do you think that's a valuable database to have?
Oh,
I think so.
yes.
I think so. So I'm challenging somebody to do it. Anybody. Okay. So you have short-term and long-term. Build your database. We talked about this. Agents leaving means more databases and farms up for grabs. If database is your number one source, build your database. Take advantage of that. Do a bunch of neighborhood prospecting. Everybody you talk to, get them into your database. Okay? I don't care who you're talking to. Get them into your database. I'm not interested in selling. I don't know anyone who is. Great. One of the things I do for other people in your neighborhood is keep them updated of what's going on in the market every couple months. Would you like me to do the same thing for you? Boom. And then they get your emails, they get your calls every couple months. But this is a great opportunity in 2024 to build your database. But keep this in mind. This is building your database. You might not get a lot of business from this in 2024. This is future business. Does anybody here plan on being in real estate in 5 years? Okay, this is what this is going to do. This is going to set you up for those years. Okay, build your database. Anyone and everyone looking to buy, mainly in the first quarter. If you know somebody looking to buy, you got to get them to buy. First quarter is a great opportunity. Okay, well, Robert, why? Because interest rates haven't dropped yet. What's going to happen when interest rates drop to the buyer market?
All
Everything
markets.
Goes up.
It's
Okay.
going to go up.
Prices and buyers.
And prices will go up. So if I'm looking to buy a house and I can get a house right now and I'm only competing against 2 or 3 offers and the average home is selling slightly below list price, I have more advantages to me now than if rates go down. So in that first quarter, maybe before rates start to go down, anyone that's buying, you should be getting them into a house. It's a great opportunity for them, because when rates go down, not only are you going to be competing against people, not only are prices going to be going up, you might not even get the house. So here's a great question. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, are you okay living where you're currently at for another 3 or 4 years? No, then I would suggest you buy a house in the first 3 months. Because after that, if rates go down, then you're going to be in a buyer frenzy. We might not even get you a house. You might be here for a while. Great opportunities for buyers in the first quarter. I wrote down here, build out of area database for referrals. If the number of people coming to California is slowing, that's because there's other areas that people are moving to. If the number of investor buyers are slowing in California, that means they're investing somewhere else. So make sure you're building an out-of-area agent database. So when you're talking to people and they say, well, we don't want to invest in California, we're thinking about Phoenix. Do you have an agent in Phoenix? We're thinking about Orlando. Do you have an agent in Orlando? If you don't, call me, because I do, promise you. Okay, and if I don't, I'll find somebody, but I have pretty much agent referrals everywhere. Okay, although some of you send me some really remote areas. Okay, but I find you somebody. Okay, so let's build that up, because that's 25% every single time. Utilize the C21 global footprint on presentations. We talked about international buyers going up. I think you have an area for success with the company you work for. Because imagine going on a listing presentation. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you think we live in an international real estate market? Yep. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, the number of international buyers in California is increasing, which means to market your home the best, not only do you need to market it locally, but internationally as well. Luckily for you, Century 21 has 14,000 offices worldwide and a portal that allows all these international companies to see all of our listings, which means your property is going to get exposure in China and India and the UK and Canada and Mexico and all these other great places, which could lead to potentially more buyers looking at your home. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to take care of the local marketing, contacting your neighborhoods, contacting my office, contacting my database. The MLS is going to take care of the national marketing, sending it out to 500 websites. and Century 21 is going to take care of your international marketing, sending it out to 14,000 offices. Do you think we have you covered? I do. Great. Sign here. Do you think that's useful on a listing presentation, what I just said?
Yes.
Great. Will you use it? Because that stuff, it works. All right. Ideas to succeed. Pre-qualify your leads faster and get rid of them faster. 2024, pre-qualify leads faster and get rid of them faster. You will not hit your goals if you're hanging on to leads for weeks and months. You will not do it. Whatever your goals are, you will not. Oops. Oh, let's go back. You will not hit your goals if you're hanging on to your leads for weeks and months. Requalify them. They either want to play or they don't. Move them out. Unless you have a set farm that has already given you business, more contacts are better than farming in 2024. Okay. You're working a 250, 300 home farm. Well, the number of closings are down, which means you have to do the same amount of work for less opportunities. Unless you have a farm that's already given you business, contact 100 people this week from this area, and then go one street over next week, and then one street over next week. And instead of hitting the same 300 homes for 12 months, if you did 100 homes a week for 40 weeks, that's 4,000 homes. You will have a much better opportunity to find business in 2024 if you get more contacts rather than farming, unless you already have a farm that's giving you business. Okay? More contacts will be better for you in 2024. I wrote down here next, you can't motivate people. If they're not motivated, move on. This kind of goes into part one of the leads. Okay? Well, you should buy because of this. They're not going to. They should. If you ever have to say you should, stop. It's not, because now you're trying to motivate them. You're not going to motivate them. Okay? They either want to buy or sell. Your job is just to prove that you're the right person. Maybe handle a couple of objections, but you can't motivate them. Move on. I wrote down here, don't buy into any excuses about the market, the election, etc. You're going to get people that say, well, I want to wait to see what happens with the election. They're not waiting for crap. Every election, if some people win, I'm leaving. You are not. Stop. That's the stupidest thing. All right. Don't buy anything about the election, the market, any of that stuff. You buy into the excuses about the market, the election, just be one of the other people that don't pay your board dues, because your 2024 is not going to be good. But if you say whatever, your 2024 is going to be a blast. You're going to crush it. But you can't buy into the excuses. And I wrote down, it's a numbers and relationship game more than ever. You have to talk to more people. It's taking more contacts to get a lead. It's taking more leads to get an appointment. It's taking more appointments to get a deal. You've got to talk to more people. And with your database, you have to build those relationships. Okay, so find those important people in your database. Build that relationship. Thank you over and over and again. How can I help you? What's on your mind, right? Don't just be the, I'm in your face. This is how many sales are going on, right? Relationship. Okay. There is so much opportunity in 2024. It should be exciting, but it's only exciting if you block out some of this stuff. Okay. If you buy into some of this stuff, it's not going to be exciting. You're going to have a tough year. But for those of you that eliminate this stuff out, make the numbers, build the relationships, you might have the best year of your whole career. And as always, reminder, our core values here at the company, because they're very important for 2024, whoa, not go. Okay. I want to slow you down, not force you to speed up. Go, make contacts, fail over and over and over again. Right? Let us be like, hey, slow down. Go. Okay. Iron sharpens iron. Be in the office. Be amongst your peers. Be with the people. Okay. It makes so much better, makes you so much better. It makes a big impact if you're around people doing big things. Okay. Walk the talk, set realistic expectations, take full accountability. That's the same thing as far as don't buy into the market, the election, right? Have the Randy, embrace excellence in relationships. And be the best at everything. I had this conversation with one of the agents the other day and doing our one-on-ones. They present themselves really well. And I said, what about your marketing? Does your marketing look like you're a top end person? I don't know. I said, well, then you got to make your marketing look top end. Be the best at everything. Be the one that answers the questions. Be the one that provides the value, right? Beat the Joneses. Real estate is the ultimate mediocrity business. We're not going to have that. You guys, any people want to leave the business? Don't try to save them. Bye. Let me have your database. I can't believe you still prospect. Okay, yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. I'm gonna go make some deals. All right. We're gonna beat them. We're gonna beat them. All right. Questions on anything we went over today? Okay. That's my presentation. That's all I got. So hopefully you got some questions answered. Hopefully there was something valuable in there. If I can leave you with anything, it's remember the opportunities are there. They're there today. They're going to be there tomorrow. They're going to be there the rest of the year. And they're going to be there in January and the rest of 2024. Get into action. Get engaged. Don't worry about anything negative. There's opportunities out there. It's a great, great time in 2024 for us to build our business. And I'm hoping that you're just ready to go for a ride.
Thank you, Robert.
Great job.
All right,
Robert.
everybody.
Thank
That's all I
you.
got. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Keep up the good work. And if you need any